Hi everyone. Let's talk about powerful phrases to use when someone speaks down to you. Have you ever just got caught off guard, or you're just like dumbfounded even when someone talks to you and you didn't expect it? So let's practice and let's go over some really powerful phrases you can use when someone speaks down to you. Okay, are you guys ready? And it's and they're respectful too. It's not like it's tit for tat, right? They are respectful. So when someone speaks down to you, you could easily say, I appreciate your input, but let's keep our conversation respectful. Have you ever thought about saying something along those lines? And these are just a suggestion phrases. Make them your own, right? And I know for me, like, I will be stuck, and then later I will think about it, and then like 2 weeks later, next time I see that person, I'm like, oh, by the way. So yes, so we might want to say something along these lines. I appreciate your input, but let's just keep our conversations respectful. Okay, and if somebody comes up, or they have, it sounds kind of outlandish, or just interrupts your train of thought, or maybe they're trying to divert the conversation elsewhere, we can always bring it back to this. Let's focus on the issue at hand, or let's focus on the topic right at hand. And then that will also keep everybody from saying random different things, right? And to be disrespectful, and to just be a nuisance and talking down to you. So if you just say, let's focus on the issue at hand, and then keep it from there, and light and flowy, don't yell at the person, just kind of keep it going. I think this is a really good response. So I would appreciate it if you could phrase that differently. I really like this one because sometimes what we hear is not exactly what they're saying. So I haven't used, I would appreciate if you would phrase it differently, but I have said myself, so what you're telling me is da 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 da, and see what their response is back to you. But I do like this where it says, I appreciate if you could phrase that differently. So that makes them think twice, like, okay, maybe they've stepped over a boundary, or you recognize that they've stepped over a boundary. So it's like you're reminding them to be more respectful, and to not only to you, but also to your boundaries. You could also say, one moment, please. This is important to me, so please hear me out. Just please hear me out. Because sometimes we do have people who want to talk over you and put you down and this and that. So it's very good to use that kind of phrase. Bring it back to you. Don't point out what they're doing wrong. Say, this is important to me. Please hear me out. And that way, that gives them an opportunity to adjust themselves. Or if they don't, don't be surprised if sometimes they don't want to hear you out. At that point, you just need to cut the conversation, right? Don't give in to their conversation. So next time when someone talks over you, just say, it's important to me. This is important to me. Please hear me out. Okay. Can we take a moment to cool down? I like that one. I'm not good at that one. Because if someone else is frustrated, I want to get to the bottom of it, like right then and there. And so I have a hard time to like take a break. But if you really do just take a break and come back to it, I say even that same day or a few minutes later, I think that's really good, because then you can think about what the real issue at hand is. And also it does give people an opportunity to calm down, cool down, get more of a level head, right? And also it does show, like, the majority of these do show that you do have boundaries. And also these are not only good for with the workplace, you in your own home, at school. So can we take a moment to cool down. But always remember to go back and resolve that issue, because you don't want it lingering in there. You don't want resentment. You don't want it to blow up at the wrong time. So if you do go back to it, that's ideally. You can also say, could you explain why you believe that? I really like that, because it sees what they're coming from, right? Because everybody's journey is different, everybody's thoughts are different. So it kind of sees from their perspective of why they say that. Maybe they're not really trying to be rude. Maybe if you listen to their reasoning, it's like, oh, I get it. No wonder you said this or that, right? Could you explain why you believe that? So I like that response, because it helps you to understand, and it helps them to know that you're really interested also in what they're saying as well, and it makes them feel included as well. So, and it's almost like giving them the olive branch, if you will, because I think it diffuses a bad situation. So I do like that one very much. I feel dismissed when you speak to me this way. I like that too. I feel dismissed when you speak to me that way. I think that's better than saying, don't talk to me that way. This is not okay. Like, because those would be like my responses, but I feel dismissed when you speak to me that way is a great way to help the other person to see how they're making you feel, how they're talking to you. And also, like, maybe you're the one putting, it's coming off aggressively. I think not only like using these phrases, but what you could also remember is, if that other person is sitting down, sit down too, because when you're like taller than them and you're standing above them, and then you're like talking down to them, that makes, for real, just without hardly saying anything, that makes it already a bad start, right? And so if you could actually sit down to them eye level, or be eye level if they're standing up, sitting down, whatever, just be more eye level with them, I think that also diffuses the situation as well. So I feel dismissed when you speak to me this way. I think that is a great problem solving technique to say those words. And yeah, how about this one? That comment made me feel disrespected. Can we keep things professional? And I really like that, because we're all adults, right? And if you're not an adult, you're a young adult, and you will become an adult. So it is good to keep things professional. And because not only is it just, we're supposed to love thy neighbor, right? So no matter if we're at work or at home or at school, whatever, keeping things professional can, in the long term, keep things cool and kosher in the long term as well. So you don't have to like another person in order to be nice to them, or to at least be civil to them, not being rude, not talking down, not disrespecting. So that comment felt disrespectful. Can we keep things professional? I really like that one a lot. Also, I know, like, especially like with, if you're talking like religion even, or I don't know, I think it's because a lot of controversial things come up around religion, politics, this, that. So if you can find a common ground, that can also help diffuse a situation. Or I don't know, because finding a common ground is also like collaborating and communicating. It's almost like saying you can relate without saying you can relate. And that it also makes the other person feel like it's an actual conversation. It's a two-sided conversation. And perhaps you might not find a resolution, but at least the resolution for that moment is to find the common ground. And then that way, to diffuse the situation. And so you're not feeling disrespected. They're feeling heard. You see what I'm saying? So let's try to find a common ground. Not only is it a good words to use, but if you can even have that in the back of your mind as you're using these phrases, that is a a bonus for sure. Please consider how your words might be perceived. I have a very hard time with this one because my words come off as very sharp, very, if you're adding salt to a wound. However, for most times, I have your interest at best at heart. Hashtag no judgment. I'm not perfect. Please consider how your words might be perceived. And I think this is a good one for anybody of any age. Sometimes not directly telling someone how you feel because of their words can be better. By using this statement, you're getting the person to reflect on their words without them truly knowing how they made you feel, and encourage more mindful communication. Oh, I love that, mindful communication. And that's so true because yeah, mindful, it makes people like, okay, wait a minute. This is reality. I really am talking to somebody. It's not over a text. It's not over the phone. I'm really talking to somebody. So if you really need to, it's harder nowadays because we have time when we text or we email to think about our words, right? But when we're talking, our words come out just like bink. There is no delete message, right? It's as soon as you say it, it's heard. And so please consider not only to think this for yourself, but also use this phrase. Please consider how your words might be perceived. And that goes for both parties in the conversation as well. So how about this one? I like to move this conversation forward in a positive way. I think that is so I think that is so friendly. I really do. I think that's so friendly. This is a great way to express yourself when you're not happy, or when you won't tolerate being spoken down to, or maybe there's a negative vibe. I don't know how to explain that because every situation is different, and communicating with people is different, right, for everybody. And so if you can say that, I like to keep this conversation going with you, and let's keep it going forward, but in a positive way. And if you could kind of come out nicely and not catty about it, I think that would be a really great one to use. This is one of my favorites because this is so true for me, because it feels like when someone talks to me just abruptly or disrespectfully, I don't have a comeback. If I've in the past have cuss words at that point, because it's like, no, forget you, you know what I mean? But perhaps we we just need to say, I need a moment to process this before I can respond. Just give me a moment. I need to process this. And that takes everything off of their plate. And then at that point, you regain your control and your strength. And yeah, and it helps to stop the rudeness right then and there, right? I need a moment to process this before responding. So, but don't forget, you really do need to respond back too, you know? And this is what I also think for like at work, or even at, I don't know, mentors or someone, I don't know, it feels like in a higher position, you might feel like to say, thank you for your feedback. I know having an online business and having things in beta, that's what we truly need to make our businesses grow, is the feedback. So don't look at it as bad when someone says that, because your feedback can help them make changes. If we can just get the feedback in a nice way, let me tell you, change is so possible. So I like that idea, to tell them that, and then that way you're not that anybody needs validation, but you're validating them that yes, they're being heard, yes, you're processing, yes, you're listening. So thank you for your feedback. I think that's a fantastic one as well. I like this one between like parents or siblings or best friends. I value our relationship too much to let this continue. And I really love that. I really love that. However, sometimes when people are talking down to you, what is the root cause? And that's what you really need to dig down to. But In the meantime, yes, I value our relationship way too much to let this, basically this conversation continue, this negative continue, this disrespect to continue, right? Because we can't take back our words. So I just wanted to bring up those topics for today to see what you thought. And I feel like the world we live in is so negative, and we definitely need ways to respond back to it. At the bottom of this video, I'll give you a link to my Etsy store. I have an affirmation. Ooh, I should have an affirmation book. Ooh, maybe I spoke too soon. I was thinking about my affirmation book, but I don't know if I put it in my Etsy store yet. But I will have some kind of resource down below in the comments, or either that, or I will have a website down below if you're needing counseling, or if you need because you know, with the negativity, we do need counseling. I wanted to share my book with you, but I don't think I have it on my Etsy store. But if nothing else, I will definitely put some kind of link down below. And so if you need to get help from, because it can turn into abuse when people talk to you in that fashion, right? If you need help, that's okay. Hashtag no judgment. We all need some kind of help. So I'll put the link below. But please leave your comments. We would love to hear from you. If you haven't joined our community, please do so. We cannot move forward without you. And I will see you on the next video.